Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going deep into a story that I find just fascinating. It's about Grigori Perelman, this mathematician, a genius, really, and he basically said no to fame and fortune. We're talking about $1 million in the highest honors you can get in math, and this guy just walked away from it all.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, what really drives people, especially in a field like mathematics, where it seems like everyone's always chasing those awards and recognition, you know?
Yeah, and that's what we're going to try to unpack today. We've got some great YouTube videos lined up to kind of guide us through this story.
Awesome. I'm ready to dive in.
All right, so let's go all the way back to 1966 in Leningrad. Our guy Grigori is already making waves with his math skills. Like, we're talking specialized schools, international math Olympiads, the whole shebang.
And get this, at 16 years old, he gets a perfect score at the International Mathematical Olympiad. Can you imagine, like, acing the SATs before you even start high school? It's pretty clear that Perelman was, a mathematical prodigy from the get-go.
Yeah, talk about a rock star mathematician, right? But here's the thing. This was just the beginning. Years later, Perelman decides to tackle this problem that had been stumping mathematicians for a century. The Poincare conjecture.
Oh, yeah, the Poincare conjecture. Imagine, like a rubber band stretched around an apple. Could you shrink that band down to a single point without, like, breaking it or the apple? That's basically what the Poincare conjecture is all about, but for shapes in higher dimensions. It sounds kind of simple, but proving it mathematically, that was a whole different beast.
A whole different beast indeed. And to make things even more interesting, this problem was one of the 7 Millennium Prize problems. Each one comes with a cool $1 million for whoever solves it.
Yeah, these weren't just any math problems. They're like the ultimate challenges in mathematics. Some people believe that solving these problems could, like, unlock all sorts of crazy technological advancements and stuff.
So the stage is set right. We've got Perelman, our mathematical hero, ready to take on this century-old puzzle. And what does he do? Does he publish his solution in some fancy journal? Nope. He posts it online. Just drops it on the internet like it's nothing.
It was a total shock to the math world. It was like he completely ignored the whole system of peer review and academic publishing. It was his way of saying, here's the answer, take it or leave it. Some mathematicians were excited, of course, but some were pretty skeptical.
Wait a minute. Some people actually try to take credit for his work. Seriously. It's math, not like a song or something. You can't just steal someone's mathematical proof.
Right. It just shows how groundbreaking Perelman's solution was, that others couldn't even understand it, let alone come up with it themselves. It just added to the whole mystery surrounding this guy.
Okay, so imagine this. You've solved a problem that's been around for 100 years. You're hailed as a Genius Awards, and invitations are coming at you from all directions. What would you do?
Well, if you're Grigori Perelman, you say, thanks but no thanks to all of it. He refused the Fields Medal, which is like the Nobel Prize of Math. He didn't want the $1 million prize either. He wanted nothing to do with the fame and attention.
It's like winning the lottery and being like, nah, I'm good. I think I'll just stay home and work on some more math problems.
Exactly. It's mind-boggling, especially when you think about how much emphasis is placed on awards and recognition in academia. It's like the whole system revolves around it.
And from what we've seen in these videos, he pretty much went off the grid after that, living a super quiet life in St. Petersburg with his mother.
Yeah.
Barely any contact with the outside world. Like a mathematical hermit.
Yeah, it's wild. Was he, like, disillusioned with the academic world? Did he just see fame as a distraction? Was it some kind of philosophical statement against the whole idea of achievement being tied to money? It's hard to say for sure.
You know, it's just crazy to me how Perelman just, like, drops this groundbreaking solution online. He could have gone the traditional route. You know, published it in some prestigious journal and had his name in lights. But he didn't seem to care about any of that.
Right. It's like he was saying, here's the answer. I'm not doing this for the attention. And then you have these other mathematicians trying to swoop in and take credit for his work. It's kind of mind-blowing. You'd think in a field like math, things would be more clear-cut, you know, less room for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you'd think so, right?
Yeah.
It's not like writing a song or painting a picture. It's math. There's a right answer and a wrong answer. But I guess even in the world of numbers, there's still ego and competition involved.
Totally. And, you know, in a way, those people who tried to take credit for his work only ended up highlighting just how brilliant and original Perelman's solution was. Like, if they could have figured it out themselves, they wouldn't have needed to try and steal it, right?
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about that $1 million prize for a second. I mean, that's life-changing money for most people. But Perelman just walked away from it. One of the videos we watched mentioned him saying something like, putting a price tag on achievement is an insult to math. What do you think he meant by that?
I think for him it was about the purity of the pursuit. Like math is this beautiful, intricate language that can unlock the secrets of the universe. It's about the challenge, the discovery, the joy of solving the puzzle, not about the money or the fame that comes with it.
So it was never about the reward for him, it was about the journey, the process of figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think that's a really powerful message, especially in today's world where everything seems to be about money and status. Perelman reminds us that there's more to life than that. There's the satisfaction of pursuing something you're passionate about for its own sake.
Absolutely. And his actions really back that up, right? He chose to live a simple life away from all the noise and distractions. It might seem strange to some people, but it makes perfect sense when you understand his values.
It's like he was saying, I've found something that's more valuable than fame or fortune.
But there's another side to this too, right?
Hmm.
Some people might say that by rejecting these awards and this recognition, Perelman is kind of depriving the world of his talents. Like, imagine the breakthroughs he could make if he was out there collaborating with other mathematicians, pushing the boundaries of the field even further.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue that he wouldn't be making a huge contribution to the world of math if he was more actively involved. But at the end of the day, it's his choice. We have to respect that.
It's that balance, right? Between acknowledging someone's potential impact on the world and respecting their right to live their life the way they want to.
Exactly. And maybe, in a way, he's making a different kind of contribution by just being himself, by challenging our assumptions about what it means to be successful and showing us that there's more than one way to live a meaningful life.
It's definitely a story that makes you think,
Yeah.
And it reminds us that true genius doesn't always fit into a neat little box.
Yeah, Perelman's story is a reminder that real life can be way more interesting than any fiction we could come up with.
So we've got this brilliant, eccentric, kind of reclusive genius who solves one of the biggest problems in math and then just disappears from the spotlight. It's like something out of a movie.
Totally. But it's a true story, and it raises so many questions. What would we do if we were in his shoes? Would we embrace the fame and fortune? Or would we follow our own path even if it meant going against the grain?
It's something to think about for sure. So we've spent a good chunk of time talking about Grigory Perelman, the man, the myth, the legend. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Poincaré conjecture itself. This problem puzzled mathematicians for over a century before Perelman came along and cracked the code. But what exactly is it all about? What does it even mean?
Okay, so imagine you have a sphere like a basketball. Now imagine a rubber band stretched around that basketball. The Poincaré conjecture basically says that you can shrink that rubber band down to a single point without breaking it or the basketball. And that's true, but only for shapes in 3 dimensions.
So it's all about the geometry of shapes in different dimensions. And it sounds pretty simple when you put it like that, but I'm guessing proving it mathematically was a lot more complicated.
Oh, yeah, way more complicated. It required a deep understanding of this thing called topology, which is like a branch of math that deals with how shapes can be stretched and twisted and deformed without actually changing their essential properties. Perelman's solution was groundbreaking because he came up with all these new techniques and ideas that nobody had ever thought of before.
It's amazing what the human mind is capable of, right? And Perelman managed to do all of this while staying out of the spotlight. It's really an incredible story.
It is, and it shows that there's still so much out there that we don't know, so many mysteries left to solve. Who knows what other groundbreaking discoveries are just waiting to be made?
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. And we're back, folks. For this last part of our deep dive, we're going to try and tie everything together, wrap our heads around this whole Grigory Perelman saga, this guy who solved one of the toughest math problems out there and then kind of just walked away from all the glory.
Yeah, it's a story that really sticks with you, doesn't it? It makes you think about what really matters, Like, are we chasing the right things in life?
Exactly. So as we bring our deep dive to a close, what would you say are like the biggest takeaways from Perelman's story? What can our listeners learn from this mathematical mystery man?
Well, for me, I think the biggest thing is that genius doesn't always look the way we expect it to.
Yeah.
Perelman shattered all those stereotypes about what a brilliant mathematician should be like. He showed us that you don't have to be out there seeking fame and attention to make a huge impact on the world.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that sometimes the most brilliant minds are the ones who are content to just quietly pursue their passions without needing all the fanfare.
Absolutely. And another thing that Perelman's story highlights is that There's a certain beauty in pursuing knowledge for its own sake. Like, he wasn't motivated by money or prizes or recognition. He was driven by a pure love of math and a desire to solve this incredibly challenging problem.
And in a world that's so obsessed with material success and external validation, I think that's a really powerful message.
Totally. And it also makes you think about the pressures that come with being at the top of your field. Like, Perelman's decision to withdraw from the spotlight kind of exposes the dark side of all that attention and scrutiny. It's a reminder that we need to be careful about how we treat people who are pushing the boundaries of human knowledge.
Yeah, it's like we put these geniuses on a pedestal, and then they're surprised when they don't want to stay there.
Right. It's a complex issue for sure. But I think it's important to have these conversations, to try and understand the challenges and triumphs of people like Perelman and what we can learn from them.
So to bring it all back to our listeners, I want to leave you with this question. What would you do if you were in Perelman's shoes? If you solved a problem that had stumped the greatest minds for over a century, and you were suddenly offered $1 million and the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, would you embrace it all, or would you choose a different path, a quieter one?
That's a tough question, isn't it? And there's no right or wrong answer. But I think by reflecting on Perelman's story, we can gain some valuable insights into our own values and what truly matters to us.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Grigori Perelman, this mathematical maverick who showed us that true brilliance doesn't always follow the rules. Thanks for joining us, folks, and keep those minds curious.